Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining us today, six-time Junior Pan-Pacific champion. She is coming to us from the East Coast today. We're talking to senior in high school, Erin Gemmell. Erin, how's it going?
I'm good. I just got back from dry land, so I'm good.
Do you have separate dry land and swimming sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I call it dry land just because that's what I'm used to calling it, but strength and conditioning, I guess, would be a better way to put it. So yeah, it's
Gotcha.
separate.
Okay, nice. Do you like having those separate workouts as opposed to, I guess, doing them back to back or one versus the other?
I don't know. I like having them separately in the sense that it gives me an afternoon that's almost off, but isn't all the way off. So I swam this morning and then I just had strength and conditioning this afternoon. So it took a lot less time and I could get home earlier.
That does sound quite nice. Since we're talking about your training, this was on my list of questions for later, but I'll just skip to it now. I have to ask, you train with your dad. I'm sure you've been asked this lots of times, but you've been doing that for a while now. Just can you tell me a little bit about that dynamic and what that's like and maybe how it's developed since you've been training with him?
Yeah, so I've been training with my dad since I started high school, so fall 2019. And I think it's a lot less weird than people would assume. Um, Generally, it's just at practice, I'll call him Father Bruce. Um, because I think it's weird to be in the middle of a set and just be like, Dad. But during practice, he's my coach mostly. And then we try not to talk too much about my swimming specifically at home. We'll talk about swimming in general, but if we need to have a coach swimmer discussion at home, he'll be like, "Oh, your coach needs to talk to you." And I'll be like, "Okay, what does my coach have to say?" And then he'll be like, "Okay, this is dad talking." So I think just clarifying which is really helpful.
That was one of my follow-up questions, which that's really cool to hear, because I would guess that it's really helpful to have those kinds of clarifications and kind of separate the pool home lifestyles. So that's really great. Are there other coaches on deck with Bruce, or is it just, he's pretty much your only swimming coach?
Yeah, so so in the beginning, pre-COVID, there were other groups at the same time. So there were other coaches, but they weren't coaching me. And then for a really long time, over COVID and up until this spring, it was just my dad. But we just got another assistant coach. His name is Cliff. And I think it's been really as much as I love my dad and mostly being coached by him is not a problem. Sometimes it just helps to hear things from someone who's not living with you.
Totally. We talk about swimmers changing coaches, getting new coaches all the time. It's nice to have another set of eyes on you and get some new perspectives. So nice. That's really cool to hear. Well, and just in terms of swim nerd and fun stuff, can you recall the hardest set your dad's ever given you, or the most challenging, painful, etc.?
It depends. I divide things into physically hard and mentally hard because I don't really mind physically hard sets. Those are fine with me. But when things get mentally hard is when I really struggle. So any set that's like 4100s kind of thing. One time pre-COVID, he had us do a 10,000 for time, like in short course yards, not long course either, short course yards. Um, but yeah, for me, it's just any set that's honestly, if you hit me with anything more than four of anything over a 200, like that's when I start going, oh, Dad, this is so hard. And he goes, it's not hard. And I go, but like in my brain, it's hard because it's boring.
Yeah, that I feel like that's a very sprinter-esque mentality, but I also feel like that's something that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, I wouldn't call you a sprinter. You go 405 in the 400-meter freestyle. But that makes sense that, you want to be engaged. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. All right, so we covered your training and your kind of general day to day. I want to talk about this summer, starting with U.S. trials at the end of April. You had a good meet there. I'm not quite sure if you went best times at the time at that meet, but I am curious as to your preparation for that meet and kind of if you had goals or expectations heading into that meet.
Yeah, okay. So at that meet, my 100 free and my 200 IM were best times.
Okay,
Um,
nice.
Going into that meet, I was like a month before the meet, I was feeling pretty good. I swam at Indy sectionals and I went a best time in my two and my four. So I was feeling pretty ready. And then I got back from Indy and I got like really sick. Like like I got tested for COVID and it was negative, but like I think that it was COVID, if that makes sense, because like later on people close to me got it and I didn't. So I think that's what it was. So I was out of the water only for like 2 days, but I definitely looking back on it got back in sooner than I should have because I was super worried about the lead up to trials. So then after that, it was just kind of like maintain the level of fitness that I had before in Indy and then try to keep myself from being too stressed out about trials, which didn't work. But it was just kind of that and being sick didn't help.
Yeah, I can imagine. And especially dealing with the stress levels of a trials meet, of a qualification meet like that after getting sick. So heading into the meet, were you looking to qualify, make the world's team? Were you looking to make the junior Pan Pac team? Did you kind of already have that figured out in terms of what you were aiming for?
So I was definitely aiming for the world's team. I like obviously where you're seated like logically doesn't have that much of an impact on like what you're expected to go because everyone's going to go different times. Like a bunch of people could add time, a bunch of people could drop time. But to me in that moment, I was like, okay, the goal is to make the world's team. I'm seeded to make the world's team. So I need to do this in the two free.
uh, which I think from a competitor standpoint makes sense. It's maybe not the most logical, or like you said, people are going to go different times, but from a competitor standpoint, if you're seeded to do it, it's like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to hold my seed. So it was kind of a funny situation, obviously, because you ended up seventh in that 200 freestyle final, which would not qualify you for the team. And then Katie Ledecky scratched the 200 free individually, which kind of would have maybe put you on the world's team. Can you take me through that from your experience and why ultimately you just decided that junior Pan Pacs would be the best meet for you at the end of the summer?
Yeah, so I got out of the two free, and there's like a picture of me. I posted it because I think it's funny, of me like crying. And so Katie came over to me and she told me, she goes, I'm scratching the two free. I don't know, at Worlds. I don't know if that helps you or not. And so I like knew that going into like the rest of the night. But like as soon as I got back to the Airbnb, of course I had my parents all in the USA Swimming like selection procedures fine print. And they were like, well, unless she gives up her relay spot too, which there's no reason for her to do, obviously, for like the help of the country, you don't get to be on the team. And I was like, well, that's unfortunate. So then at that point, I kind of remembered that Junior Pan Pacs existed because I had been so focused on Worlds, and now obviously that wasn't an option anymore. So I definitely had to like change gears because I was kind of expecting, I guess, my championship meet to be in, June. And then it was like, oh, you're going to swim Junior Pan Pacs, which is great. It's a great opportunity. You're going to get to be on the junior team again, which I love. But it's at the end of August. So that's a really far way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on paper, if you just look at meet results, it looks like you planned this perfectly because you were a certain set of times at World Trials in April, and then you went to nationals and got faster, and then you went to Junior Pan Pacs and got faster. And so it's like Erin and her coaching staff are geniuses, but I'm guessing that's not exactly how it panned out. And so you kind of change your focuses at trials, you get through the meet, and then how do you get back to training knowing that you have this big meet at the end of August?
Yeah, I think the night of, I said to my dad, I was like, I need to take a break. Like I don't want to swim for a little bit after this. And he goes, yeah, that makes sense. I did not take a break. I immediately went back and was like, I'm swimming again. But I think so while we were still at international team trials, because deadlines were coming up, my parents and I decided that I was going to go swim Mare Nostrum in Europe. Um, from my perspective at the time, it was like, oh, I need international experience. Like, this is something that will help me be like maybe less nervous than I was at trials in the future. But I think also they kind of felt bad for me, which, like I appreciate it. I got to go to Europe. So, but I think the idea of having those meets that like on one hand are like, oh my gosh, it's an international meet, it's long course, but on the other hand, it's like a little bit like it's not super fancy, it's a little bit sketchy. I think that really helped me like find the chill in swimming again.
Interesting. Now that you're saying this, I remember seeing you in Barcelona sitting with the Texas women. How do you feel like that experience went overall? Just like you said, helping you find your chill. What do you feel like you walked away with from competing at those three stops?
I think I definitely like kind of gained the ability to like go with the flow more. Like at international team trials, I was really like, this needs to happen at this specific time, and I need to eat this now and stuff like that. But when like you're in Barcelona and prelims are 4 hours long, and then you have a swim off, and then it takes a while to get back to the hotel because you have to take the metro. Like you just kind of have to do what you can. And I think I realized that like obviously while like your situation has an impact on your swimming, it doesn't have to be the end all be all of if you're swimming fast or not.
That's a great takeaway to gain, especially with a couple big meets, coming up a couple months after that. In between that time, so you go to Mare Nostrum, and then World Championships happen. I want to get your perspective on that 800 free relay, and if you watched it in person, what you thought of it, just looking at the results, and how you're feeling about that relay moving forward.
So I was in the strength and conditioning gym at the OTC when that relay happened. So me and all my teammates were sitting around watching on someone's phone, and we're watching and we're watching and we're like, that was a really fast split. And then we're still watching and we're like, that was another really fast split. And so obviously it's like I'm super happy for all the girl at the time, like in the moment. I'm super happy for all the girls on that relay. I know them all. But also, you can't really have that without being like, oh, like I could have been on that relay, like I could have been there. So there's that. And then I think, and this is really ironic considering later events, I asked my dad after we had finished working out, I go, I can't go 154. Like, how am I supposed to like be world class if I can't go 154? And he was like, you're right, you can't right now. So you just have to keep training. And he told me he didn't think he meant like you can't do it yet, as in yet is the end of this summer, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite the irony. So take a training trip to the OTC. You were at Mare Nostrum. You were all over this summer, which is pretty cool. Do you like do you like being able to travel that much for swimming?
I like being places. I think especially for me, it's being somewhere that's not my house helps me get into like the meet mentality. And then as for training, I train really well when I'm at the OTC. So that's just something that whenever I have the chance to go up there, like I'm going up there.
Nice. What do you feel like about it gives you the juice to have really good workouts?
I think part of it is that, especially in the summer, you literally don't have to do anything except focus on swimming. Like, even like the food is there for you. You don't even have to make your lunch, it's right there. And I think the other half of it and is sort of this weird sense of like, I'm at the Olympic Training Center. Like, I need to be having good practices because this is like a privilege to be here. And so I need to like work my hardest every single day to make it worth it.
Again, that seems like a great mindset to have. So just moving forward, what was the point of going to summer nationals for you? I know there were quite a few kids who did go, and then went on to junior pan packs. And obviously it's kind of like you go to California, which is on the way to Hawaii. But again, did you have focuses or goals heading into that meet?
Yeah, I think when I think back on it, I considered that meet my focus meet, like even over junior pan packs. I think at that point I was thinking of junior pan packs as like a bonus meet, kind of like just more of a racing type thing, like race to get your hand on the wall to get the medals. Whereas nationals for me in my mind was like, this is my chance to go best times and stuff like that. So it was to get racing in, but like more specifically times in my mind.
Was there a specific reason that was the mentality versus trying to go, having the goal of going best times or good times at junior pan packs?
I think that's like, it's just kind of like the junior team as such. Like, I had such a great time last fall when we went to the World Cup, and that was very more so like racing based because it's short course meters, and obviously no one had swum short course meters. And I just really kind of liked the idea of you're swimming for the team there, not for yourself. So like, as long as you get your hand on the wall ahead of someone else, it doesn't really matter what the time is.
Yeah, that yeah, that seems to make sense. And it seems like these these goals were carried out pretty well. You went really fast at U.S. Nationals. Did any of those swims surprise you? Were you happy with them? Were you like, oh, these aren't that good?
I think I'm thinking back on what they were. I think obviously like the freestyle swims, I was super happy to be able to go best times in like my best events. But I think the one that surprised me most was my 2 IM. Um, because it's like the last day and I had just had like I'd won the 400 free the night before, so I wasn't super expecting like prelims to be that good. And then I swam prelims and I made the A final and I was like, and I hadn't really been training IM because obviously I was focusing on freestyle. So I think that one just really surprised me. I hadn't gone a best time in a 2 IM by like more than a 10 in like 3 years or something. So that was super exciting.
No kidding. That's great. Um, so yeah, I mean, you go best times at nationals. You have a good meet, and then junior Pan Packs, you're kind of more focused on the racing. Do you feel like it took you a day or two to get into the meet, as some that sometimes goes, or do you feel like you got there and you're kind of sharp and right on from the get go?
I think I like physically was definitely like right on from the get-go, but the first the first day, two free, it's not usually the first day, so that weirded me out. And then I think a little bit of my mindset the first day kind of got in the way. Like, as much as it's helpful to focus on medals instead of times, the first day, finals of two free, I was definitely more worried about like winning than I was about just going as fast as I could. So I think I actually got out of that race and my dad was there. He was watching. So I went and found him later and I went, I could have gone faster. And he was like, sometimes you feel like that and it's not true. It's just how it felt. And I was like, no, I could have gone faster. I didn't swim that right, kind of thing. But then I figured it out.
So what what how do you feel like you could have gone faster in that particular swim?
I think just like I gauge it by how I felt at the end, and I wasn't tired enough at the end. And I don't remember how I split it, but I feel like I probably could have started like doing the last 50 kind of sprint thing earlier.
Hmm. Okay. And yeah, and then again, like you said, you kind of figured it out later. You brought in that 154.8 relay split on the women's 800 free relay to to help them to gold. Where again, what were your feelings of that? Were you surprised? Were you like, okay, I did it. Like this is what I knew I had in me.
So I literally, like, ever since I was 8 years old on summer league relays, I know that I swim faster if I'm catching someone. So, I went in behind by a lot and I was like, oh, like that's kind of far, but I have a whole 200. So maybe we can make this work. And I remember on the last 25, I was like kind of even with the girl from Australia. And I was like, you know how embarrassing it would be if I almost caught her and then I didn't? So in that moment, that was when I kind of just like, okay, here we go. And when I heard the split later, I was surprised, but at the same time, I really wasn't because I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to catch them and win. So, like, yes, it was surprising in that I didn't know that I could swim that fast, but it also, like, if she had been closer, I don't think I would have gone as fast as I did.
Okay. Yeah. So then, coming out of junior Pan Packs, I mean, you you raced well. You won 6 titles, 3 individual, 3 with USA on relays. Um, how are you feeling now after having a meet like that, after going the times you did, especially with the framing of a few months prior? You barely missed that world's team. And you're saying to yourself, well, I can't go 154. I'm not going to make, I'm not going to be able to make an international team.
I think now it's I feel really conflicted about it because on one hand, I think about all these times that I went and I'm like, how did I drop that much time? Like, can I do that again? And on the other hand, and I think this is a privilege of once you hit a certain like level of speed, I think about how I could add what I would have considered in the past, like a lot of time in an event, and it can still be really fast. And that's something that I think I've realized, and like I need to remember when I start swimming long course again.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You've reached, it certainly seems like you've leveled up this summer, from all of those different meets. In terms of your training now, and just moving into this year, do you train like a mid distance person? Do you have days of speed and days of aerobic threshold, or what is a typical week for you kind of look like?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good balance. Monday mornings are just like kind of get into it. Pull usually. Monday afternoons are my least favorite day of the week. They are threshold day, and usually it's colors. And I tell my dad that I really don't like colors, and he's like, I can name it something else. I'm like, it's still colors. Tuesdays we do like an active rest sort of thing, so 75 fast, 50 easy, a lot of the time. Um, Wednesdays we swim in the morning, so it'll be like more of a speed focus practice probably. Thursdays, who knows? Sometimes it's another like threshold day. Sometimes it's another active rest day. Um, Fridays are always 50s Friday. It's my favorite. I love it because I know what to expect. I know that we're doing 50s, and that's it's helpful to me when I know what to expect going into a practice. And then Saturdays are just terrifying. They're usually they're not threshold, so I appreciate that, but they're usually pretty long, pretty hard.
Gotcha. And then how many doubles do you have every week?
So we double on Monday, and then right now that's our only double, but we will probably go into doing Thursday morning and afternoon as the year progresses.
Gotcha. Nice. Um, so this is your senior year of high school. Are you looking forward to anything specific about this last year of high school, be it in school, in swimming, and in life?
Um, I think in school we when we graduate we wear like white dresses. We don't get caps and gowns, which is kind of sad, but we get white dresses, and I'm kind of looking forward to it because I feel like usually it's like that's a special occasion dress. Like if you're wearing a long white dress, you're either getting married or you're graduating high school. And I've been really having fun just like looking at those, even though it's super like far in the future right now.
That's a really fun tradition, and exciting. It's something to look forward to, and like you said, shop around a little bit for. And obviously, this is even further in the future, but you've committed to Texas for next year for college. I'm just curious what made Texas the right fit for you, or why you ultimately sent your verbal commitment there.
Yeah. I always said when I was on the phone with like all of the coaches doing recruiting, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be the kind of person who just like shows up and like knows that a place is the right place. I went on my visit to Texas. It was my first visit, and I kind of showed up, and I think by like Friday night, I had pretty much decided that Texas was the place for me. It's just the people there, the atmosphere that Carol and Mitch like created, and it just seemed like it would be such a great place to be.
Yeah, you don't have to talk me into it. I live in Austin, so I get it. So very cool. You've got a lot to look forward to in the next year. I'm gonna end this by asking you to play the prediction game way in the future. 2024 Olympic trials. What time do you think is top 6 in the women's 200 freestyle?
I think there are a lot of people who are getting faster in that event right now. So maybe like obviously I want everyone to be super fast. So I'll go like 156 1.
that that's
Which is
stout,
really
but
fast.
I
But I feel like a lot of people in that event are like really booking it right now.
you're
So
you're right. I mean, I just filmed a practice with sandpipers, and like they have 3 women who are in high school still who are seemingly getting a lot faster in that event. And that's not including yourself. That's not including everyone else. So, yeah, I think that's a fair estimate.
I mean,
uh,
I'd rather overestimate everyone than underestimate them.
that's how I am too. They give me crap at Swim for being too positive or too optimistic, but I don't know. I like going for it. So, well, Erin, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat about your summer and your swimming. It's been really great getting to know you for the past 30 minutes. Do you have any parting thoughts for our audience before we sign off today?
At least part of my swimming success can be attributed to my avid consuming of Taylor Swift's music.
Nailed it.
You've been listening to the Swim podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.